Hey shooters, this is John with Sun and Shadow, where we make tools for competitors and warriors. On this episode of 5-minute tips for 1-minute shooters, we're going to talk about tips and tricks for ranging without a laser rangefinder. Oh. Mil ranging is an analog method of determining range to your target as long as you know a dimension of the target or an object nearby.
You use the reticle in your scope to measure the height of the target or the width of the target in mils, and then you enter that measurement and the known height into a formula that will give you your range in yards.
Before we get too far in this discussion, know that there are a lot of opinions from professional shooters as to whether or not mil ranging is still relevant in the modern age of inexpensive, readily available laser rangefinders. However, for the purposes of this discussion, we are focused simply on how to use your reticle for mil ranging and tips and tricks related to competition where that skill might be tested.
The formula for mil ranging is the target height in inches multiplied by a fixed constant of 27.77. That product is then divided by the height that you measured in mils. This formula will provide you with a range to the target in yards.
For example, if we have a target with a known height of 24 inches and we measure a target height of 1.2 mils, we would enter those two items into the formula where 24 inches times the constant 27.77 divided by 1.2 mils gives us a range of 555 yards to the target. The formula is the easy part. The hard part is holding your reticle steady enough that you can measure the target height within 0.1 or 0.05 mil for a relatively accurate reading.
The accuracy of the reading is incredibly important because if you're off too far, your output distance can be as much as 100 yards or even more, which will cause you to miss the shot. It's very important that you have a solid and stable position, which may actually be different from your shooting position, so that you can properly measure the target. The best way I've found to do this is to use a stable rest like a tripod or bag and do the measurement without even touching the gun. Many precision optics have particular sections of the reticle that have very fine measurements down to 0.1 or maybe even 0.05 mil. This is the part of the reticle that you want to have on the target for the most accurate measurement possible.
The second hard part is knowing the size of the target. The match director may give you target sizes. However, if not, there may be some common sizes of different targets that you'll need to know. This might include the height or width of an IPSC C-zone or 33% steel, or it may be a common target size for that particular match. Another way to know target size is to use average measurements for various items. For example, that may include the average height of an adult male, the diameter of a car's wheel, the standard dimensions of a cinder block, or a host of other common items that are next to or nearby the target. If you are mil ranging at a competition, you are most likely making the measurement under time. When you're under this sort of constraint, it's very difficult to set up a position to measure the target accurately and then, without using your calculator or phone, do the calculation. Let's talk about some other ways that we can calculate the distance more simply without having to pull out an electronic calculator. There's a tool called Mildot Master, which was specifically developed for helping you determine target distance without the use of a rangefinder. Mildot Master is an analog calculator that has a sliding scale, and it allows you to match the target height in inches with your mil measurement from the reticle, and the scale will provide you with the distance to the target. This is a slightly faster way to use the mil formula to determine the distance to the target, and it's very slim and light, and you don't need batteries. Another way to help you do this under a time constraint is to build a scale on your armband before you start the stage. Of course, this requires that you know the target height or target heights before the stage begins. But if you do, you can build yourself a scale on your armband to those known target heights, and whenever you measure the target in your reticle, you can simply go to your armband and check off the height that you measured to instantly give you a distance to the target.
I start with my gun's max point blank range distance and then scale out to the max distance of that particular range. This has been the fastest way I've found to range the target with the mill method, but of course it does require that you know the target height before you start the stage. The last item to discuss is what to do if you get the measurement wrong. If you measure, determine your holder adjustment, fire, and then see that you were wrong with your range estimation, you would see splash either above or below the target, depending on which way you were incorrect. It's very important that you trust the bullet and the splash on this first shot. If you're allowed to take a follow-up shot, you should be instantly ready to make that correction. I would prefer to trust the bullet and the splash before I trust my range estimation. If you find yourself at a competition or maybe even in the field where you need to use mill ranging to determine the distance to target, try out some of these tips and see if they work for you.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Leave your comments or questions on mill ranging below. And as always, have fun when you're at the range. We're always learning.